Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is I, the Transformational Scientist, and we're going to talk today about AEW's Dynamite, which was a pretty decent go home show. Um, I wish for myself that things were a little bit different, and I'm going to the show, but what are you going to do? I'm going to sit here and think about what I saw and talk to you about it. So that's what I'm going to do. Hopefully, you're going to sit there and you're going to listen. Yeah, we had a pretty decent show. There's right now when it comes to the overall pay-per-view, there are two matches that I just don't really care about. I don't feel that they are in my best interest, something that I want to waste time on. And I'm going to the pay-per-view. So anybody out there who's like, I pay a certain amount of dollars, I want to get a bunch out of it. I paid for a ticket, and I'm telling you, there are two matches that right now I'm going to sit for, which I suppose is not the worst thing in the world because I might be able to go off and take a leak or, get food or something, or they might over deliver. But at the moment, I tell you, and one was almost set up for on Collision, and it found its way on Dynamite. Like there was no reason for me to have to go through sitting with it. I'll give you a hint. I'm the learning tree. No, 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 no. Before we get to Sunday, let's worry about Dynamite, which happened yesterday. All right, so first we have MJF. He comes out, and before he even gets started, we get my boy Daniel Garcia. All right, so we're in New York, I believe Buffalo. I'm wondering if we're going to see who do we always see? The Butcher and the Blade. I believe they're from Buffalo. We're going to get all the New Yorkers coming out. I don't think this works, especially if you're from New York City. I mean, New York is New York, but New York City is New York. All right, that's totally bigoted towards New Yorkers against New Yorkers. It's totally bigoted. Just whatever. But it's kind of true. Like New York City is New York City. When people think about New York in the other parts of the world, they don't think about Buffalo. No disrespect to Buffalo. My friends. So we had a bunch of like pops, people doing the Mick Foley pop where they, mentioned the area and everybody goes crazy. I know Danielle Garcia did it. I think no, William Ospreay already also did it. MGF most likely did it. I mean, it was just pop, 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 poppy, pop. I didn't even think Swerve did it. Daniel Garcia has had some very strong, very powerful, resonating promos. I don't know if he always starts so slow, but I felt like for me it started slow. I thought he was came off as a little nervous. Maybe it was planned. Maybe it was planned. Maybe he was there for you know, seeing him as a human being and getting sucked up into his sucked up into his story. And I kind of felt it. I feel it for Danny. When I hear his story, he may have lost the opportunity to even wrestle. And if there's one thing that Jericho ever did that, still makes him a decent or makes him a decent human being. I don't know if it still makes him, but makes him a decent human being is that apparently he had helped out Daniel Garcia in Daniel Garcia's time of need. So here, I felt it started slow. He kind of seemed a little nervous, and I worried that he would not uh, rate the same way that MJF did. But MJF just sat back, allowed Daniel Garcia to speak and speak from the heart, and that's what he did. Benefited Daniel Garcia that his mother was in the audience, and we had a very interesting thing where Danny Garcia kind of comments on now he doesn't want to be a pillar necessarily, that he could see himself as being the backbone of AEW, the workhorse of AEW. And this is around the time where the promo really started kicking up into gear for him. He, to me, had a lot of heart. It also helps that MJF has recently been, I think he came out being super, super tough and super hard. but he hasn't been yeah, you know what? He hasn't been a heel in his recent endeavors. Um, with Roosh was decidedly a jerk. He was just, but that's the benefit of him being next to Roosh, and maybe they're going to keep him in this hardcore, not hardcore, but this hard edged heel. He definitely had the outfit, MJF's outfit with the boots, the black look, the kind of like grizzled. Uh, he looks a little bit like Wolverine. If you look at the haircut, the facial hair, he's got a little like, I don't want to say Teen Wolf. It's more like a Wolverine thing going on. And Daniel Garcia also, he was doing more of a New York baggy look to him. But with that being said, MGF definitely took it. And then later on, you had Osprey come out, and he was just looking like a slacker. He's just looking like he came out of a playpen hanging out with his friends Stefan and Harry. And when Daniel Garcia gave his fiery comments, this is a moment where MJF kind of gave him like, okay, I see where you're coming from. MJF was expressing how much he thought that Daniel Garcia showed himself, showed his heart, showed his grit, and he was like, look, you're badass, I'm a badass. Why don't we do this on the biggest stage? And I love how Garcia had a moment where he was just like, look at my mom. Like she must have been super super happy at the idea of that. She's like free trip to London. Yeah, I'm doing this, which is not a bad trip. Osprey coming in, and interestingly enough, he made a joke about not lasting very long with his partner, and then apologized to his wife for it. But he said he was working on it. Anyway, but after that silliness, we have Osprey talk to Daniel Garcia, and he's mentioning the rankings. He's like, basically, he's saying, I see you getting match after match after match, going quickly up the rankings ultimately. Not that they've been the most competitive matches in the world, unfortunately, but they're doing this abbreviated story. These I don't care so much for the phrase "let it cook" or anything with cooking at the moment. I think it's overused personally. But in this moment, I feel like it could be one of those things where you do let it cook, where Daniel Garcia has gotten some very decent matches, with Copeland and others, not necessarily winning them, but showing out. And, he's been on a streak, but it's been like Rampage, Collision, Daniel Garcia in action tonight kind of thing. So not the most impressive of showings when it comes to what he can do. However, they are telling an abbreviated story. What I don't know. They are basically, we find out that because Osprey thinks that this is such a wonderful show of spirit, he's decided to give Daniel Garcia a chance to win not just the the international title, but also the world's heavyweight title. And Daniel Garcia is like, yeah, okay, this is cool. We in this. If it's about for two belts, just call me two belt Danny. All this time, I'm thinking, where's Swerve? Like, aren't we gonna get Swerve in this? And we get Danny and Osprey giving each other daps. But then it comes to MJF, and poor guy. Seriously, he's just sitting there in the back, kind of stewing over this BS. On the commentary, they're talking about how Osprey cut him off, and he is feeling some sort of way. Ultimately, he is feeling some sort of way. At least it looks like it, and he does it through his action. Oh, I should mention during MJF's spiel, he does take a moment to take some cutting words. Basically, he said that Danny Garcia, unlike others who have made a name in other companies, come to where MJF lives and basically is handed a title or a title opportunity. And thinking about it a little bit later on, I wonder if that was a shot. That could have been a shot at a bunch of people. Okada, Mercedes, um, just those two ultimately. Oh, it could. Oh, well, that's Osprey. That's Osprey as well. Oh, that's that's unfortunate. That's really hitting deep at a bunch of different people, and it's kind of taking a shotgun when a sniper might have been a bit more effective. But why am I talking about guns? I don't like guns. I don't care about guns. The doctor did not use guns for a long, long time. Danny Garcia, Osprey shake hands, and when Danny goes to answer MJF about his thing about let's do it at All In, MJF's like, you gotta focus. Just focus on what's in front of you, and he kind of just storms off all like boo boo faced, and yeah, because we got a boo boo face for a night. No, this segment ultimately, when I think about it, and it looks like it was just this segment, I would give this I would give this a B plus. I'd give this a B plus. I think it got to where it needed to be, but it just fell short of being like super stellar. Um, the jokes were cute and fun, but I don't know if it completely landed. The overall feeling was loosey goosey, uh, and I think it took them a while. It's 15 minutes for overall, like generally this piece. And it was missing a significant piece of the puzzle. If this piece was out there, I think it would have brought it up to an A minus, maybe even an A. And I'm talking about Swerve. What the freak? We had Swerve in the back, and he was watching all of this. And this is why I don't really count this as a part of the first segment, because all of the rest of the stuff happened in the ring. Where the F was Swerve. While Swerve finally got a chance to speak, I heard the crowd just crying, like, we can't hear you, we can't hear you. Like, they couldn't hear what was going on. And it went through about two-thirds of the promo. It might have been the whole thing. The only reason why I think they reacted at the end was that they could see Nana, and all you have to see is whose house, and everyone's gonna yell Swerve's house. But like, I can't even tell you the content other than Swerve was like, "You're not gonna just offer up my belt, and you haven't even fought me yet." Pretty much what he said, but I couldn't remember because I was just like, "Oh shit, this is really messing up this whole thing for the people that is actually paying a ticket, and they're paying money. I mean, we're sitting back and we were watching stuff, but we ain't paying money. They're paying money and they are getting shafted from hearing a significant promo from their world freaking champion. Poor look, poor look. I don't know. I can't. I'm not even going to try to. Poor look. Just a poor, poor look. All right, so next we have the Blackpool Combat Club coming out, and truly, it's interesting to see him. Moxley had a big old patch on his head. Wheeler Yuta has never felt so small and just kind of insignificant within this overall team. We have Brian Danielson on commentary sitting next to Shivani, who I don't really remember hearing as much last night, and the man in the mask. Why do I always blank on his name? And Taz. Hilarious Taz. All right, so we had three. No, you had two enhancement talent and the superstar uh, Takagi Shingo, right? I don't. Oh man, I'm a casual guy. I don't only watch AEW. I really don't watch anything else past like women of wrestling. I listen to the world around what's going on. I know WWE is very hot right now, but like I am not somebody that knows New Japan, and it'd be nice to know who these people are sometimes. I realize I can Google after the fact, but in the moment, it's nice. It's different than someone saying who. I'm watching a show, and I'm still curious as to who these people are. I wouldn't consider myself a sicko, even though I am someone who like pretty much consumes a lot of AEW's content, and I do so with a critical eye, but also while keeping a positive mind. There's some things that bother me to hell and back, but ultimately, I'm just here to enjoy the show. Not a complaint, not a complaint, because this wasn't a bad match. It was an enjoyable match. Look at these three. I'm not going to try to say the name. I've tried saying the name before. Just it hasn't been working out. Just look at the name. All right. If you can translate it, if you know Roosh, if you know his team, this team has been around for 10 years or so. It, can somebody tell me? Do you remember if Andrade was a part of that group or not? I don't remember. Anyway, these guys you would imagine are the bad guys, right? I imagine that they're bad guys. But in this match that came we watched, it was a six man tag team, three man, three versus three tag team, and John Moxley and the boys, they just came off as like very, very. They seem to be rude, just very rude. They came off as bullies to me personally, and I'm someone that does everything in my being to not be a bully. I don't want to be a bully. I don't believe in bullyism, and yet I feel like there were a few characters that I was supposed to take as faces. Although I don't think in this situation they were even trying to be faces. They just came off to me as jerks. And if you're, I don't need to see that kind of portrayal on for my enjoyment personally. And unless they get their comeuppance, and it might be time that the BCC have an internal squabble about what it is to be honorable in the ring and what it is to be just a bully. And there's a big turf war, maybe a civil war, and hopefully Wheeler's on the side of being decent with Danielson, and maybe Claudio and Moxley can be the ones that are just like, screw it, we're just gonna win however we want to, and they become like true heels, right? And you finally have a distinction, heels and faces, and you break BCC up. That's what I would do. So this match was a fun match. It was interesting. Mm, there was a lot of hard hitting stuff in it. It ended with Moxley hitting someone. Oh, I think it was. I can't remember actually who it was. He hit somebody over the back with a chair, and they called the match off. Very rare do we get a disqualification, so it's still a bit of a shocker. I don't know if. No, I'm fine with it ending. When I started thinking about it a little bit later, I was like, I don't know. Do I feel cheated? It's not necessary that I feel cheated. It's just I want disqualifications to really matter, and that's the work of a heel. And unless it goes to the story that I just mentioned, and it didn't feel like it because it didn't feel like, as far as I remember now, anyone had a qualm, 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 qualm. Nobody had a qualm with it. Any other of the other team members, Mark uh, Wheeler and Claudio, they had no problem with it at all. 30 minutes, 30 minutes for a 15-minute promo and a 15-minute match. It's 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Like, I do not think you needed to go 15 minutes if you're going to have that ending. Yeah, at first I gave this a pretty high mark, but thinking about it, I give this a B minus. If this is the quality of a B minus, no, I would have to give this like a C plus. Like ultimately, because I just thought that C plus. The feeling of this was all over the place. I did enjoy seeing like the what do they call them, the junior heavyweights. I enjoyed seeing these guys do some fun wrestling in the ring, and Shingo is just wonderful. I remember him on the last year. It was Forbidden Door, but it was on the 0 Hour. They had a match, and I was just like, this guy, he's got personality. He really had personality in her. I forgot that Mox had that bandage on his head. I haven't seen it, but I've seen the pictures of Mox being. It's beyond a chrism. It's beyond crimson. It's beyond a crimson mask. He looked just disgusting, absolutely disgusting. Oh, so then we had this music go off, and it was obvious that it was some star, but I was like, "What's going on here?" It took like a minute before this dude actually even hit the ramp, and then he was sauntering down the stage slower than Orange Cassidy. Uh, okay, not necessary. He pulled off his short. I forgot what it read, but I was just like, "Oh, you're a slacker." Something about I come slow, but I arrive hard. Don't think that's what it was, but it had that kind of feeling. Moxley and this fellow, they grind and move into the crowd, and this kid in the back is super, 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 super happy. I apologize. I guess it was more Shingo and Danielson who are going to have the match of Forbidden Door. And I'm okay with that. This is good. This is one of those matches that I am particularly interested in. And what's going on? I felt like Shingo was more the face here. So does that make Danielson the heel? Oh, that's why they were working on this dynamic. But I don't know if you could. Oh, that would mess up my story, and I don't think that would work with. Has Danielson been evil recently? He just fought against the Elite for. Oh, please, please, AEW, please sit down and figure out what you want from BCC. This back and forth is killing individuals like my man Daniel Bryan. Brian Danielson. Next up, we had the Bang Bang Gang. I love the introduction as usual, and Juice is always just ridiculous. I thought this was a really, really wonderful time. Thankfully, at the beginning of this match, they decided not to have the riffraff around, though. This was a match between Jay Wright and Ray Phoenix. And instead of keeping everybody out there, and I was shocked. I really think it would behoove them to do this for every match or have every match more. They would it behoove them to tighten down and have more matches that are like this, so that the ones that don't have it feel more like that they're special and unique. Because once the riffraff, and that's everybody, that's the hype man Penta who had chairs for a moment in time. You had Jay White, you had Juice, Rock Hard Juice, uh, was it Colton, and you had Austin. But you had all these people on the outside, and they were already causing so much distraction. It made sense for the referee to get their asses out of there. You can call me Ray or you can call me Jay. Anyway, Jay White and Ray Phoenix really put a lot of effort into this. I do see what people mean about selling and artists that are able to go. There has been a debate overall at the emphasis on selling. It's interesting though because you do still see bits and pieces of it. Body parts can be something that people focus on, but the more act of the being ground down over time, and that is a bit different. It is a bit different. This was a fun match, and it was one where Jay, he's going against this person who has a lot of flashiness, but Jay was just slippery and he would just have these really fierce strikes. He would take you, or sorry, he took Ray for his worth, and like some of the greatest selling comes from this man. Like there was a DDT where Phoenix just took it and it looked like he was like just vertical for a second as he got knocked on his head. It was a very nice match where uh, you kind of got a feeling that even though Jay White was just vicious and brutal, he's got a lot of chops, he still got outwitted at times, and there looked like there were moments where this Ray Phoenix, who was a faster person, could potentially win it. But at the end, in the end, Jay White, he got his finishing move and got the 1, 2, 3. There's a bunch of good 2.99s. There were two in particular where I was like, okay, all right. Typically, especially with this referee, I've noticed that there are moments where he hits the 3 and still continues on with the match, and I'm just not a fan of that. And I was worried about that. But the two 2.99s, they were very close, but they were 2.99s, and that's how I like my. Look, if you count 3, if your hand hits that mat 3 times, just call the match. Just have them rewrite things, and I ultimately don't think Tony Khan is the strongest when it comes to such things. So maybe there's reluctance for that. But shoot, man, call the 3 and let the match be the match. But anyway, that wasn't a problem here. Like I said, Jay White got his finisher, and it was a very good match. I would feel this was a good B plus. Oh wow, I forgot about this. So afterwards, we had the patriarchy come out, and uh, I don't know if she does, but I'd be very curious to see if Mama Wayne has a black spade anywhere on her. If you know, you know. So they come out, and I really forget what they were saying, other than I think Christian wanted the belts. There was no daddy stuff just yet, but we get the sense that things are getting heated up. And you know what? If they put the belts on the patriarchy, I'm okay with that. There's a chance here to do something different if we have, even if it's a little bit. There's no real division at the moment, and if they can have fun, the type of matches that the patriarchy would put on, I don't think they would be quite the matches that I would imagine in that particular division, but it's something different. And Nick Wayne can go. It'd be nice to see Killswitch get a belt of his own, and be able to do things. And Christian, he looks good in gold. He can definitely use that to build a story with somebody, some trios, maybe Top Flight, maybe the infantry with the AR Fox, maybe the Outrunners, and who would you put with the Outrunners? Dalton Castle, right? So Dalton Castle and the New Freaking Birds. Give it to me. Just shove it down my mouth. Sorry. Speaking of not having a trios division, we also do not have a tag division. I can't blame the Young Bucks for this. They are not the ones that are booking the show. And Tony Khan, regardless if it's a Young Bucks idea or not, Tony Khan can still book and build things around them having the belts. I don't know if the man cares. I don't know if the man cares. The infantry got shot down. Oh, they're going to be on Rampage. They're using as fodder. Not happy about that. The Outrunners, they're not doing anything. The Top Flight as a tag team, not really doing anything. Man, this is acclaimed or somebody who's in the upper area, and of course they're in the program with them. Oh, we'll get to that in a second. Here we have Adam and Adam. We have Michael. We have Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. I forgot about this. Yeah, so we have a short segment with Matthew and Nicholas, and I really like that. They're. I know some of these people from, or they at least I imagine when I think of middle managers, but the one person that is just like angry and kind of, well, not just kind of, just condescending and just a royal prick. And then you have the other who is a bit more manipulative, kind of insincere, smiles in your face, that says shit about you as soon as you turn around. Like, I like that they have two distinct, different characters and I still enjoy the Elite. We got a little bit about them talking about how Jack Perry's going to be good, and they also talked about how they are going to be the ones that are putting a surprise entrance into the Owen Hart tournament. And I was trying to think, who could it be? Um, could it be a returning heel Hangman? It would make sense to have Hangman come back because with Swerve being a face, and the last time we saw him, it would kind of make sense. And then you have something for Swerve or a direct link for Swerve to kind of go after. And Hangman coming back, that would be an interesting match. Who would win between him and Jarrett, especially with the promo, which I still haven't seen. It's like I saw the one on Collision, but I haven't seen the 7 minute one, or 8 minutes, 9 minutes. Anyway, there's supposed to be one on YouTube, which is much longer, and apparently it gives people the feels. Speaking of feels, I saw Inside Out 2. I enjoyed it quite a bit. If you saw the first one, then you kind of get the gist of this one. The the main cast, the antagonist, she is going through puberty, and a whole new set of feelings come in, and we get boredom, embarrassment, embarrassment, anxiousness. Very funny, very funny. Actually, I would say not very funny. I would say it was low key, and there were moments in it that I really thought were okay, but the ending, like you have to build this whole story to get to the ending, and you have to stick with it. It's something that feels slow to me at the very beginning, but once you get towards the third act, when they finally like get to what's going on, the representation of anxiety, just feeling too much, or feeling too much of the negative emotions, and what happens if you focus on certain type of negative emotions versus accepting all of your existence, good and bad, then who are you? Who are you as a person? Especially if you just focus on the good or you just focus on the bad. I'm starting to realize this movie is deeper than you really get. And by the end of this movie, the people in my audience gave it an applause. The last time I was at a theater where they gave applause was at Blue Beetle. It was in a part of Brooklyn where there are a bunch of Spanish people, a lot of Spanish people. And they really enjoyed that movie, which understandably, if you get a pretty decent superhero that you feel represents you, and it was a pretty decent story. It was interesting because you hear about it with other really high end movies, but this was from the heart, and I was there with them. I was there with them. So yeah, maybe it is Hangman. Maybe it is. It'd be an interesting fight with him and Jericho. Jericho with him and Jarrett. Here, though, we had which is a strange choice. The Acclaim came out, and then AEW immediately went to a commercial, and not just like picture-in-picture commercial, an all-black commercial. So for the people sitting at home, you see the Acclaim for like a split second, and then they're just not there. And if you're there at the audience, you see them come out. They don't really have a mic. I'm curious if they said anything. But then they had to sit and wait in the ring for 1 minute and 30 while, I imagine they probably did some hijinks, but that's a lot of time to kill. That's a lot of time to kill. It doesn't seem like a lot, but 1 minute 30 is a long ass time. You remember when I said something about people who are bullies? Well, you have the Acclaimed here. I really am not cool with calling other people's names. You might not like other people, but it's just puerile to me when you get to that point. And seeing, what is his name? Not Bowens. I don't even want to think about his name. Max Caster talk about and just call the Young Bucks cucks. Just in multiple times. Like, it's kink shaming in a way, and just the idea of having to use a term about someone, and cucking is what it is. There are people that enjoy it, like, but to use it as an insult, not cool. I just don't really dig on that. And right there, like, there was another comment about sticking something up their butts or some such, and I'm just like, dude, you have someone in your group who's gay. If he's fine with it, he's fine with it. But to me, personally, I'm just like, dude, as a person myself who has kinks and does not want people to judge or make fun of me, um, I don't think it's actually. And in fact, there is one person in that group who is somewhat uh, define the term of daddy, and I don't feel that that's necessary, sir. That's not necessary. You are not the type of daddy that I feel is the type of daddy that I wish to be. I don't have kids. So ultimately, this leads to having the Young Bucks come out, and Okada, once again, he's making his money by making me laugh. And this time it was a very extended, I forget what he said exactly, but I think it was like, no, 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 or stop. Stop, 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 bitch, or whatever. But anyway, this ends up being the elite having three people and going against the acclaimed, and I forgot how we got there. Oh, I think Daddy asked if he knew uh, a a CEO or a, I don't know, boss of a promotion, and it ended up being the person from New Japan, the big head of New Japan, and I'm like, man, this dude, like, I have been griping about how slow and how I feel Daddy Ass is somebody who just doesn't need to be in a ring anymore, for me personally. Not when you have a bunch of young people, the roster's stacked. I get that he's a big guy, but even that's kind of a miss within the realm of AEW. And instead, we got like a bit of a degrade where I appreciate that he has a long storied career with Okada. Ultimately, though, I don't know. The last few matches that I've seen from the man, I get it. I get it. These style of matches are the types where they used to have in the, from my understanding, like the old days. Even WWE used to do this, but they would have like some of their legends on in these large multi-man tags, so that they didn't have to do too much. They basically tagged in and they would do what they could do, and the younger guys basically carried the load, which is what acclaimed are doing with Daddy Ass. If you think about it, they're the people. I won't get into it. I've already gotten into it. But here, this is a moment in time where it's just like, you don't need to do this to make it a reason for being on a pay per view. And whereas the last skit, or at least the two with the elite, I would have been like, fine, that's I'll give you an A minus for that. It was not offensive. It was okay. It was decent work, and the character work is always there. I like it. But if you mix it in with this and the surprise and everything, it just drops to C plus, because like, you don't need to add this to the pay per view. Maybe if it's on 0 hour, but it's not going to be on 0 hour. And then if you put it on 0 hour, what are you saying about any of these people? Yeah, yeah. Back yourself in a corner. Unnecessary. All right, now we have a wonderful backstage segment. I'm not going to get into it. Just watch it. Though I will say this is a moment where Kyle O'Reilly gets a chance to show that what he's been working on, and I love Kyle O'Reilly. I was walking around listening to the Misfits on my Misfits T-shirts the other day, and it just made me think about how he's just a punk rocking hardcore person, even though he's a daddy, I think, and he had to go through this horrible surgery and have to recover and basically didn't know if he was going to wrestle anymore. He's still just like a young, dumb punk, and I love that about him. Okay. I don't know what just happened there, but next we had Tony Storm come out with Mina. Mina and I feel like this was a 3-on-3 match, wasn't it? So Tony Storm, Mina, and Mariah May versus Soraya, Anna Jay, and Harley Cameron. Fun match, fun match. I enjoy seeing Soraya. I am practicing and remembering how to say her name now. This was really mostly to set up. This is story time with Tony Storm, Mina, and Mariah May. And we are just characters in Tony's story. It was fun. It was fun. Soraya is always a joy for me. She did a thing, and I don't know if they planned it, but she was in a ring and she took the camera and turned and said, "Look at this," or like pointed to something and like moved it so that it focused on the action in the ring. Then they cut to the hard cam, and I just felt like that was really really fun. They tried to do a few little things tonight that I appreciated as a with a media studies eye. There was another moment where Soraya looked at the camera and yelled at the guy, "Stop being! Why are you being such a creep?" Hilarious, absolutely love her. Anna Jay continues to overproduce or do her best in these rings. Still remember a really great match with Jade so long ago. Someone had me remember, or someone reminded me that it was in 2020. That's some time ago, but yeah, it was really, really good. Then you have Harley, and she's proficient. Amazing what she does with so few matches. She doesn't have it in her where she can really go in there and just do things off the fly. But you can tell she puts a lot of practice in, and as long as she's practiced her spots. But anyway, this really wasn't about the match itself. Fun, enjoyable, good women's action, although I felt like they could have given them more time and let them be a little bit more serious considering some of the schlock that came a little bit later. But you had different things, like you had Mariah May wondering who to like tag in. You had double tag from Tony Storm and Mina at one point, and a bunch of like these little story moments, which is the reason why was a story match. This was a story match. As a story match, I would give this a B plus. I'd be close to giving it an A minus, but there was not much for the other women. It was really Soraya, and she may have a story with Tony going on a little bit later, but it's ultimately like Tony and Mina and Mariah May. It was cute for what it was. We had I thought at the very end they did a champagne thing, a toast. At first, they did it. It was Mariah May gave the champagne to Mina and Tony Storm. And I thought they were gonna throw it on each other, but we didn't have that. They ended up drinking, and it was very cute watching Tony Storm like dance and be somewhat cutesy. Yeah, but then we had a moment where it looked like Mina was very upset and going to hit, not really upset, but she looked like she was going to go and hit Tony with a wine bottle, a champagne bottle. But instead, Tony got out of the way and Mar- smacked Mariah May straight in the head, knocked her out. No blood, thankfully. That's fine. You don't need it for this segment. The sugar glass was enough. And you had Tony Storm being really, really intense, being like, "Why did you do this?" and just yelling at Mina as Mina walked away. The refs came in and separated everybody. It was just an interesting story. What did I say? B plus. B plus. It was good effort all around. The match was what it was to support it. Look at the face of the referee in the back. Uh, you just can't get anything better than that. We got a promo that we've already seen before. I'm pretty sure of it with Mercedes Monet, and then we got to hear a few words from Monet herself. Nothing important. Oh, and then you got the learning tree. This is another one where the match doesn't need to be on AEW, the pay per view. Big Bill, he was just lost here. You could tell there were moments where he was letting himself be himself, and that was funny. I think he could feel that he's just losing the crowd. He's not. Yeah, this did not go over well with me. Long story short, because the learning tree is without its branches, they they decided to get someone to come out to fight. Sorry, Jericho wanted to ask this guy to fight for him by his side. Mr. Suzuki-san himself, but he doesn't want to do it. Instead, he wants to fight Jericho. Now, I'm okay with this. Put this on 0 Hour. Don't put it on the main card. Again, though, I don't need this, but I would rather this than seeing the acclaimed, the elite match. I don't think that's necessary. This would be fine on 0 Hour. The other one, just don't do it. And this took away from the females segment. They could have had more time to, show out, but instead, this is what we got. This is what we got. This is what we got. Until we got Joe, and basically he's very, very good on the mic. There was a fun little spot where Shibata got to say something with his cell phone. I don't think they let Hook speak here. Kyle fucking O'Reilly. Alright, so next we have Kyle O'Reilly fighting Zack Sabre Jr. and just go watch it. Just go effing watch it. This gets a firm A. If there was more time, more stakes involved, this could have gotten an A plus. It's so up there, but I'm gonna stick with an A for this. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I orgasmed somewhere towards the end after this was all said and done. I orgasmed. I'm going to use this as masturbatory material. This was so effing good. Just watch it. These guys are really, 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 really good. And I honestly wish this was done. They were giving this match again for the pay per view. I almost rather this with Kyle O'Reilly than with Orange Cassidy. Maybe it's a feeling that I've seen Orange Cassidy enough. I'm really, really loving Kyle O'Reilly at the moment. Hands down, bar none. Outside of this, you had um, the the Kingdom. Outside of the ring, you had the Kingdom with some guy from New Japan. I forgot his name, but he had a lot of charisma. Every time he was on the screen, I felt like you had to pay attention to him. I enjoyed the guy up until the very, very last moment when he was just on the ring. I felt like if he had come in and was able to do something, that would have been a bit more impressive. But yeah, he had a lot of charisma, a lot of like, I want to beat you up energy. It's kind of like Soraya's brother, but just seemingly more, just, he fit the Kingdom vibe, basically. They're all black thing. Although I think they got into it a little bit, and later on, when something happened. Oh, okay. So let's see. I forgot that Orange Cassidy was on commentary. Not very good. I did not enjoy Orange Cassidy's stick um, just here. I don't think it was necessary here. It was more for like Rampage or even Collision, but here it just didn't work. It was here for it was necessary because at the very end, we have Zack Sabre Jr. after beating Kyle O'Reilly, calling Orange Cassidy into the ring. The Kingdom are actually very upset about Kyle O'Reilly, even though Mr. Backbreaker and this guy, forgot his name, are going to have a match. And they're teaming with each other, I think. They got started jaw jacking with each other, and a little bit later, Mr. Backbreaker would get into the ring and take a look at Kyle O'Reilly. He was like, well, I've got to make sure that you're okay. Then Orange Cassidy was beckoned to the ring by Zack Sabre Jr. Orange Cassidy comes down. I forget exactly why. Oh, that's right. While there's this stare down, the teammates to Zack Sabre Jr. come out, help him. So it's three on Orange Cassidy. And then we had the Iron Grandpa, uh, Pitbull. Somebody from New Japan comes out and stands next to Orange Cassidy. And I'm just like, I think we've done it before. It doesn't feel like, I mean, this guy with Orange Cassidy, and yeah, I don't know. If I had to rate this segment, it would have been a C plus. The match itself, as I said, A, and the fact that I orgasmed, so close to an A plus. But this here, C plus, like it felt like it just meandered, and we already had the surprise thing. And it's like the week before, like TK. I'm doing it myself here, aren't I? All right, I want to look at the positives. This was a really excellent match, and the hope is that I don't know. I don't know what I want with Kyle O'Reilly. I don't think it's necessary for him to go with the bad guys. Like, I think this would have been nicer for me if this was reversed, where if the Kingdom was, a good, maybe it could go that way. But if they were good guys and Kyle O'Reilly was bad and he was losing and he was being like a shitstorm and he just realized this wasn't the way and he decided to become a decent guy, started winning. I think I would have liked that story, but I just want to see Kyle O'Reilly doing well. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, and then we had the main event, pretty much a nothing match in my opinion. Excuse me. I mean, this match you can skip pretty much everything and go to the last 3 minutes, last 5 minutes, 3 minutes. The ending was fierce, I felt. I really enjoyed it. In fact, coming off of it, I was like, oh, that was pretty awesome. But when I look at it right now, when I think about it right now, I don't know. I didn't enjoy it. It was another kind of match for to tell a story. It's two people on the side. You got Swerve and Osprey. Can they coexist? You had the spots where it looks like they accidentally, or maybe it's on purpose, try to hit each other, and there's all that confusion and yada yada. Just, it was okay overall, but the ending, and I don't remember what I enjoyed so much about it. I feel like they got together and they started working together, and they had a very exhilarating end sequence. Don't do that to a black man. Don't take a black man's stuff. Don't do that. And that's pretty much it. Like, seeing Osprey try to take a black man's goal and be laid the F out. That was enjoyable. You can skip the rest of the match ultimately. It was good seeing Tay Leone and Bishop Khan getting some good time in on AEW, but it doesn't really mean much. Again, this was all just a serve, an angle, and Swerve was impressive, knocking Osprey the F out and saying, you don't do that to me. I thought that was fun. I really, really hope Swerve keeps the belt. He comes off as a champion, and that's how you do it. That's how you do it. Don't F around with him. Face, heel, he can still be a face and do that. In fact, it makes him a badass. I don't think that's ambiguous. Someone grabbed you. Someone took your stuff. Someone laid their hands on you. You have a right to act in kind. Like, if somebody touches you, you have a right to slap their hand away. If somebody touches you, you have a right to say, you've been assaulted. You've been assaulted. Now, I don't believe in escalation, but in this moment in time, when someone's going to take a black man's stuff after so many things have happened within that promotion, don't do that. Especially the little, lily white person who's come from the biggest oppressor of all time. Bruv, don't do that. So anyway, I overall I had a pretty good experience. I rated this overall Dynamite, and I would say this angle here, the last 3 minutes makes it a minus because just felt very good to end on a certain note. Seeing my Black King carrying his belt around, that was very enjoyable. Overall, in that match, oof. But overall, this Dynamite I give a B plus. I enjoyed myself. I really did enjoy myself. I might be seriously biased, but out of the 5 matches, two were very good in my opinion, and one was excellent, excellent. And then you had two others. There were only 5 matches. Then you had two others that failed to deliver, but in one you had a really hot angle. So there you go. Anywho, thank you very much, everybody. I really enjoyed having you here to listen to me meander on about the wonderful AEW. Well, wonderful some of the time. At least Dynamite has been wonderful these past few weeks. If you enjoyed this, or this the soft dulcet tones of my voice, please make sure you like, share, subscribe. Come back again next week on Wednesday, where I'll be doing my play-by-play by Dynamite. And every Thursday at around 5 o'clock, this video will drop, this review will drop. And I can see where others have been providing content in this space. You can get a certain sense of feeling like people are getting burnt out, having to, well, we don't have to, but feeling that there's a need to watch shows that just aren't worth watching necessarily, especially with certain promotions being hot and Dynamite being what it is. Last week there were 500,000 viewers, a bit of an aberration since it was still of the top 3 on the night. But it was a great show, and this has been for me a pretty good show. But Collision, Rampage, Ring of Honor, do you need to watch them? No. And I don't know if I actually even. I want to watch them. I watch everything. But I don't know if I want to be stuck to having to create stuff about it because people, it takes a lot to put these things together. So anyway, that's just where I'm at with things. Please let me know what you would like to see. Write down in the comments and look out for some quizzes in the community. But until later, everybody, thank you so much. And until next time, goodbye. Bye-bye, Grandma.